11 a.m. and I'm walking my four-legged daughter, Tao, up and down the street. Because repetitive action is good for thinking. And I'm thinking about how to share my excitement for transmedia storytelling. A book is not necessarily a book. Consider the case of the Pale Ale, which we have dotted over there, by the way. A clever serial detective story that lives and breathes on the back of beer bottles.
I started a game company to extend, because I didn't want to have just a website that readers would come to. I wanted a destination where they could hang out in between and interact with the world. So basically it's the Card Soldier Wars. You deal yourself into the world and the Queen gives you a mission.
We have a total of about 25 million stories that we have right now in obituaries. But that's it, it's the story. Where we're going is we're telling more stories about the life, sharing memories. It's not about having you sit down and write your whole story. It's about sharing memories, and memories become the story itself. So what we're all about on Legacy is capturing the moment, the obituary, but for those 20 million that are still alive, giving you a place to come and share memories.
A lot of content creators get so caught up in creating their content in their story and getting it out, and they forget about the audience engagement on digital. And that's one of the best things about those platforms, is that you can communicate directly, you can get that feedback, you can build those communities. Everyone in here who creates content, you're now a media company. Okay? Think about it as you're a media company, you're building an audience. Whether it's a project you're doing or many projects, you're building an audience around your brand as a content creator that you now essentially own and control. And you can move that audience from platform to platform, to show to project to project.
And you can see here, this is called the social landing page, and where he can bring his whole community. He can put his Twitter feeds, his Facebook feeds, audio, video. It's all for bringing your community to one place to catch up on what you're doing. To look at your last book on the bottom are some of his books that he's publishing with fast pencils, so you can have your own little bookshelf and click through to each one of those specific books.
A lot of your popular TV shows today are serialized formats, and so through Amazon Publishing and the Amazon Serials brand, we've taken a stab at reintroducing the serialized work in a printed and an ebook form so that customers can read and interact with it.
So what if big isn't good? What if small isn't weak? What if David hadn't slung Goliath? What if instead, David and Goliath figured out a way to leverage their assets, short and tall, nimble and unflinching, agile and armored, and formed a partnership? Befriending Goliath could offer a lot of resources and capital to distribute my work far and wide without sweating a sale. I bring this up because there are amazing opportunities in technology that push the envelope on everything we thought was true.
So tonight I'm going to tell you a story on how the invention of dynamite led to the creation of the Nobel Peace Prize. Mid-1800s, Alfred Nobel invents dynamite. Becomes the world's largest distributor of dynamite. Becomes very, very wealthy. His brother dies. The paper back then made a mistake and thought that Alfred died. It basically ran a headline, something to the fact of, goodbye, good riddance, to the guy who found a way to kill more people more quickly than any other way. Alfred had this unique opportunity. He got to read his own obituary and he said, this is not what I want my legacy to be. So he decided to take all the profits from dynamite and create the Peace Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, which I think you all would recognize when I say Alfred Nobel, you would relate more to the Peace Prize than you would the invention of dynamite, although he did do both. So that's a little story about the obituary. Most people, however, don't get a chance to read their own obituary. Right? Not too many people get to do that. So just think about what is going to be your story? What's going to be your obit?
There's two things that are in my mind every day. One is that we're going to be, within the next few years in a space where, at least for broadly released theatrical films, 80% of the box office and about the same of the revenue is going to come from outside of the United States. And yet, everybody from the creative side all the way to distribution is still in the same old mind frame of it's going to work here, how much box office am I going to do, how much am I going to open? And we really need to start thinking about the world first and not just the US.
But where I find new material is in any number of ways. It either comes to me because somebody is cool enough and insightful enough to send something worthy, or I stumble across something, or it's something that I thought about all my life and wanted to do, track down. Just a quick story, which is kind of a fun one. I'm sitting at the base of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. And then I realized, oh my God, we have our iPhones on us, and I just Googled suicides Eiffel Tower. And it turns out that a woman in the 50s goes to Paris to commit suicide. She jumps off the second tier of the Eiffel Tower. She lands on a car, survives, and marries the man whose car she lands on. I thought, you got to be kidding me. So I called an irreverent British screenwriter that moment. I said, here's a movie. We got to make it. I don't care what period it's set in. I don't care what the nationalities are. But this is the setup. And the real takeaway is obviously just when you think your life is over, it's begun.
I was of the view that the people who starred in, wrote, and directed movies and TV were somehow born different than anybody else. There was some glow coming off them, and you could just tell from an early age that they were destined to do that. It's not true. I should have written in my free time to see if I had any aptitude for this. And I didn't, because I would come home from work and be exhausted, and then the last thing I want to do is do more work. And so I decided if I'm going to do this, I have to throw myself in the deep end of the pool. So having never written anything in my life, I resigned from the law firm, got in my car, drove to LA, bought a computer, and started writing. I wasn't afraid to fail, and I don't think you should be. And I would have been quite prepared. I would have accepted failure. I really would have. I had the advantage of being 30 years old and not feeling the pressure that I had to succeed. Because I think that's really dangerous for a writer. I think you have to write what you like.
The way people now can watch either original shows on Netflix or other network shows on Netflix and binge watch them has allowed a different level of emotional intensity, a different level of engagement. People now can watch when they want to watch it. That makes the experience a little bit more novelistic, a little bit more like being able to consume a story when you want to, in the way that you want to. So I don't really think that stories change in the sense of, the character can write a blog and that constitutes a real innovation for a story, or the second screen constitutes an innovation for a story. But the way people can experience it, that can deepen the process, and that's allowed people to tell 150 episodes worth of a continuous narrative, with a continuous flowing set of characters that is different than what television was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
I agree. We are storytellers, first and foremost. And my favorite thing that I give to any storyteller is the child in you. And if you can sit and tell me a story like I'm 6 years old and captivate me and capture my heart and hold me there on the edge of my seat as the hero that you've created, takes us on a journey, then I feel like I'm doing my job as a storyteller.
Now remember, this is a story. So as I said about Alfred Nobel, guess what? It's not based on anything in fact. Al Gore, when he accepted his Nobel Prize, even told that story. It's a story that's lived for 150 years, but it's been recently challenged as to the validity of it. But that's the whole point of a story. It's a story. And if it's changed people's lives and it's changed the way that you look at things and you change your way or legacy, so be it. Yes, he invented dynamite. Yes, he started the Nobel Prize. Yes, he did start his whole contribution from dynamite to do the Nobel Prize. But was it because he read the obituary of his brother? We don't know. But it's a very interesting story, and in this town, this is what stories are all about.